A fresh round of talks aimed at arranging a Gaza ceasefire in exchange for hostages held by Hamas is being planned for Cairo this weekend. US President Joe Biden wrote letters to Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, on the state of the hostage talks. He urged them to secure commitments from Hamas to agree and abide by a deal. Biden told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a phone call on Thursday to empower his negotiators in Cairo so that a deal can be reached as soon as possible. CIA Director Bill Burns will lead the US delegation to the Cairo talks. United States and its allies view a ceasefire as essential to allow more humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. Under the most recent proposal, Israel and Hamas would agree to a 6-week ceasefire in exchange for release of sick, elderly and wounded hostages held by Hamas. Israel also announced it was opening the Ashdod port and Erez crossing to increase the flow of aid into Gaza, while White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will meet the families of the hostages at the White House on Monday. India on Friday voted in favor of a draft resolution at the UN Human Rights Council that reaffirms the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, including the right to their independent state of Palestine. The draft resolution on the right of Palestinian people to self-determination was adopted in the Geneva-based council, with 42 member states, including India, voting in favor. The UNHRC adopted a total of 5 resolutions, including one calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, urging states to prevent transfer of Palestinians within from Gaza and calling on states to cease sale of arms to Israel. The resolution also called for Israel to be held accountable for possible war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in Gaza. 28 countries voted in favor, 13 abstained, including India, and 6 voted against the resolution, including the US and Germany. United States is on high alert and preparing for a possible attack by Iran targeting Israeli or American assets in the region in response to Israel's strike on Iranian embassy in Syria. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has said 7 Iranian military advisors died in the strike, including Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a senior commander in its Quds force, which is an elite foreign espionage and paramilitary arm. Iran also said it reserves the right to take a decisive response. US President Joe Biden discussed the threat from Iran in a phone call on Thursday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And DD India correspondent Alex Kadia is joining us live from Tel Aviv. Alex, first, what is the latest on the Cairo truce talks?
Well, we know that those talks are ongoing. Senior Israeli officials will meet with those mediating countries, Egypt, Qatar and the United States. The United States sending CIA Director Bill Burns to Cairo to continue these talks. The head of Shin Bet, Ronan Bar, Shin Bet is the Israeli security agency, as well as the intelligence chief David Barnea, will also be in Cairo to continue these talks, the urgency of which really brought home to many Israelis today, as the Israeli Defense Forces confirming that they have recovered the body, very sadly, of one of those hostages, 47-year-old Elad Katsir, who the IDF says was killed in captivity by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, really showing the pressure on those negotiators to find a deal, pressure reiterated by President Biden, who told Prime Minister Netanyahu to give his negotiators, the head of Shin Bet, the head of the Mossad, enough room to operate to reach a deal. President Biden also sending a letter to the Emir of Qatar and the President of Egypt for them to put pressure on Hamas to reach some kind of agreement. But at the moment, the last proposal by Israel, 40 vulnerable Israeli hostages, the women being held in Gaza as well as the elderly and injured, would be released against 700 Palestinian prisoners, including 100 serving life sentences. That was the last deal refused by Hamas. A new proposal by Israel has effectively gotten no response from Hamas, who say it is basically the same deal as last time. So clearly, despite that pressure, despite international efforts to get a deal, despite the heartbreaking tragedy of the body of a hostage being recovered and the devastating humanitarian situation in Gaza. At the moment, a deal seems still quite far away.
And Israel is also coming under increasing pressure for the strike on aid workers in Gaza. How is it likely to impact its operation in the region?
Well, Israeli officials and at the highest level are saying that they will do everything they can to make sure the series of mistakes, as they describe it, that led to the death of these civilian aid workers will never happen again. But you have a lot of criticism, both from the United Nations and from some of Israel's allies, saying that this is a systemic problem. We heard that from Jose Andres, the head of World Central Kitchen, who says that Israel has been either systemically or systematically targeting aid workers, or has not been too cautious about them getting caught in the crossfire. For months, the United States also putting pressure on Israel to put in place better processes to avoid aid workers, journalists and others being caught in the crossfire. So still a lot of pressure. What we do know from Israeli officials is that they say they will allow more aid to flow into Gaza, easing the pressure on those limited aid agencies that are able to work in Gaza. But we know the humanitarian situation will only get worse unless those aid agencies are allowed to do their jobs.
And Alex, with Iran threatening retaliation against the Syria attack, how's the conflict in the region likely to expand? What are the risks?
It's very likely, and that's the sense you get both from US and Israeli officials. They say they are on very high alert for strikes against US targets in the Middle East, or against, of course, Israeli targets. We heard from American intelligence sources speaking to the US news channel CBS, saying that a swarm of explosive Iranian drones could target US or Israeli targets in Israel or across the Middle East. That is one of the possible risks. We know from the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, he says the response from Iran and from Hezbollah is definitely coming. It's just a question of when. So you do have a sense of uncomfortable expectation here, being on edge in Israel, knowing full well that some kind of retaliation from Iran and Hezbollah will be coming in the coming days. We understand it'll happen before the end of Ramadan, meaning it will almost certainly happen in the next few days. The question then is, if there is a massive retaliation by Iran, whether or not Israel will then respond, and that will continue to spiral this conflict into a bigger, broader escalation. So, as we've just mentioned, those ceasefire talks ongoing, not having an enormous amount of success at the moment to try and pause the war in the south. Meanwhile, an all-out war could explode in the north.
Alex, thank you for those updates. And news just coming in, 2 explosions were seen close to Israel-Lebanon border on Saturday. The first blast was heard around 12:30 p.m. local time, close to the Lebanese side of border, followed by a second blast a short distance away. Cross-border firing, including airstrikes and artillery shells, has been going on between Israel and Lebanese armed group Hezbollah since the Israel-Gaza conflict began. Meanwhile, Israel has dismissed 2 of its officers and formally reprimanded senior commanders after finding grave errors in the strike on aid workers. The move comes after Israel made public the findings of an inquiry into unintended killing of 7 aid workers in Gaza. The inquiry found Israeli forces mistakenly believed they were attacking Hamas gunmen when drones hit the 3 vehicles of World Central Kitchen aid group late on Monday night, and that standard procedures had not been followed. The killings of the 7 aid workers, who included citizens of Britain, Australia, Poland, a dual US-Canadian national and a Palestinian colleague, stirred global outrage this week. After publication of the findings, World Central Kitchen demanded an independent commission to investigate the incident. Israeli military dismissed a brigade chief of staff with the rank of colonel and a brigade fire support officers with the rank of major. Senior officers, including general at the head of the Southern Command, were also formally reprimanded.
Firstly, the investigation found that the WCK coordinated everything correctly with the IDF in advance. The findings of the investigation show that there were, in fact, a number of armed gunmen who boarded and left some of the vehicles that were identified during the course of the event. After some of the vehicles split from the others, The forces that were tracking the vehicles that went south did so thinking that these were Hamas vehicles, that Hamas gunmen had entered. This operational misidentification and misclassification was the result of internal failures that led to a critical information regarding the humanitarian operation to not go properly down to the chain of command. The soldiers conducted the strike without any awareness that these were in fact WCK vehicles. At the time, they were certain that they were targeting Hamas.
The UN chief Antonio Guterres said that he sincerely hopes Israel will quickly and effectively boost and access the Gaza Strip, describing the situation in Palestinian enclave after 6 months of war as absolutely desperate.
Following this week's appalling killing of 7 humanitarian workers from World Central Kitchen, the Israeli government has acknowledged mistakes and announced some disciplinary measures. But the essential problem is not who made the mistakes. It is the military strategy and procedures in place that allow for those mistakes to multiply time and time again. Fixing those failures requires independent investigations and meaningful and measurable changes on the ground. In the aftermath of this tragedy, the United Nations was also informed by the Israeli government of its intention to allow a substantial increase in humanitarian aid distributed in Gaza. I sincerely hope that these announced intentions are effectively and quickly materialized, because the situation in Gaza is absolutely desperate.
Israel has approved the reopening of the Erez crossing into the northern Gaza and temporary use of Ashdod port in southern Israel after US President Biden demanded steps to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, saying conditions could be placed on US support for Israel if it did not act. The World Central Kitchen Aid Organization has called for an independent investigation into the killing of 7 of its workers by Israeli drone strikes in Gaza. The request comes after Israel Defense Forces said that grave mistakes led to fatal targeting of staff from charity World Central Kitchen. An Israeli military inquiry led to 2 senior officers being dismissed and reprimanded 3 others for their involvement in drone strikes in Gaza that resulted in the deaths of 7 aid workers. However, the CEO of the aid group said Israeli military cannot credibly investigate its own failure in Gaza. In a statement, he said IDF's apologies for the deaths of our colleagues offer little comfort. This fails to bring comfort to the families of the victims and the community of WCK. Australia on Saturday too said it would appoint a special advisor to work with Israel to ensure full confidence in the investigations into an airstrike in Gaza that killed 7 aid workers, including an Australian. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong, in a televised media conference in Adelaide, said the government will appoint a special advisor. She further said Australia wants to have full confidence in the transparency and accountability of any investigation. And still to come on DG India News Hour. Fear lingers for evacuees in Hualien County after devastating 7.3 magnitude earthquake hits Taiwan. Biden pledges to rebuild Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore following the collapse. And presidential elections kick off in Slovakia, with voters reaching the polling stations to cast their votes.
Why is everybody ready to quit the Congress party, and most particularly those who are associated with its media department?
When we felt that the Congress party did not stand up on issues that were important for this nation.
A spokesperson cannot defend what is indefensible. They do that very heavy cost of their own conscience. and that is when they feel suffocated.
This is now an election between Congress Rahul Gandhi and Congress Narendra Modi. So it's Congress versus Congress in 2024.
The land of Dravidians, Tamil Nadu goes to polls in one go. How will the National Party's alliance face the political heat with the regional satraps? What are the issues that could find resonance among the voters as India decides? Will the vote share increase help the national parties get a foothold in the minds of the people? Watch Why Tamil Nadu Matters on the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT only on TD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In the latest from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, a Russian strike on Ukraine's Kharkiv on Saturday killed 6 people and injured at least 10 people. Ukraine's national police said the attack was launched by drones. A high-rise apartment building was damaged and a shop was ablaze in fresh attacks. Air raid alerts remained in place for Kharkiv and most of the country, including the capital Kiev, for several hours after the strike. In another update, Russia fired 5 missiles on Ukraine's southern city Zaporizhia, killing at least 3 people, injuring over 20 and damaging several residential buildings. Ukraine's Air Force issued a ballistic missile raid alert for the region, part of which is occupied by Russia, and Moscow has recently stepped up usage of ballistic missiles that are harder to intercept. And sirens also blared over Kiev as Russia launched an air attack on Ukraine on Saturday. No damage was reported by the authorities in the capital of Ukraine. Ukraine's military said on a social media platform that its air defenses destroyed 28 drones and 3 missiles launched by Russia. On the other hand, according to Kiev intelligence source, Ukraine has launched an attack on Russia's Morzovsk military airbase in Rostov region, destroying 6 Russian warplanes in a joint operation carried out by the SBU, security service and the military on Friday. The Morzovsk airbase is said to be a strategic hub for Russian planes like Sukhoi 24 and Sukhoi 24M, used by Moscow's Air Force for targeted strikes on Ukrainian military installations and frontline towns and cities. A Russian news agency earlier said Russian air defenses had shot down 53 Ukrainian drones overnight, most of them over the Rostov region. The recent attacks come as Ukraine has ramped up its drone attacks on Russian targets in recent weeks, focusing on oil refineries in an attempt to reduce Russia's oil revenue. In other development, a Moscow court has placed an 11th suspect in last month's attack on a concert venue in pre-trial detention. The court accused Mohammad Zohar Sharipozoa, a native of Republic of Tajikistan, of committing a terrorist act. The Federal Security Service on Thursday announced the detention of 3 new defendants in the case in Moscow, Yekaterinburg and Omsk. 2 of them, according to intelligence service, financed the purchase of weapons and a car for those who committed the attack on the Tokos City Hall, and the 3rd was recruiting accomplices and financing the perpetrators. The attack killed at least 144 people and left many injured. And DD India correspondent Dasha Chernysova joins us live from Moscow. Dasha, Russia and Ukraine have launched major strikes, drone strikes in particular, on one another. What is the latest from the conflict zone?
Well, indeed, we understand from the Russian Ministry of Defense that they are making steady gains in the area of this special military operation in Ukraine. Now, they insist that they have been carrying out strikes against the Ukrainian military-industrial complex between the 31st of March and the 5th of April. They say they carried out 39 group strikes with high-precision, long-range weapons. Those are in response to the Ukrainian attacks against the Russian oil refineries refineries that have intensified over the course of the past weeks. So we understand Moscow is not going to leave them unanswered. In the meantime, there has been no comment from the Russian Ministry of Defense with regards to what happened at the Morozovsk military air base. The Russian Ministry of Defense has only said on Friday that there have been 53 Ukrainian drones downed over the Russian territory on that day, half of them in the Rostov region where that base is located.
And Dasha, what is the direction in which the concert hall attack investigation is headed?
Well, obviously, the Russian investigators are looking for the perpetrators, not just those who carried out this attack, but those who have ordered that. We've heard the Russian president saying that all the links in this chain have to be established, and that's why they have been trying to gather as much data and information as possible. Now, in the most recent statement we got from the investigative committee, we understand that they have analyzed the information from the phones of those suspects that the terrorists tried to destroy as they were attempting to flee to Ukraine, according to the Russian investigators. So the understanding is that there was the man who was curating the activities and the actions on the ground of the shooters, and he was the one who said that the terrorists should go to Ukraine to claim their reward. And now this man, apparently, according to the Russian investigators, said that Krakow City Hall should be the target of this attack exactly on the second anniversary of since the start of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine on the 24th of February 2024. And in response, according to the investigators, one of the shooters has been sending the pictures of Krakow City Hall, the entrances, the access roads, and that is again leading the Russian investigators to believe that those who have ordered this attack could be linked to the operation in Ukraine. The Russian authorities have previously said that they believe that the Islamic State banned in Russia would not have been able to arrange this sort of attack on its own. There certainly should have been someone who has been coordinating and helping them with this, and they believe that this is in Ukraine or in the West.
Dasha, appreciate you joining us with those updates. Philippines on Saturday claimed that China harassed the fishing vessels within Manila's exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea. Taking to social media site X, the spokesperson of Philippine Coast Guard, J. Thadiela, stated that two Chinese Coast Guard vessels started harassing the Filipino fishing boats. Chinese guard vessels threatened the fishermen with water cannons and denied them access to the resources in the exclusive economic zone. The incident took place on April 4th while the Philippine Coast Guard vessel and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources were dropping a floating aggregate device in the vicinity of Rosal Reef. The area falls within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone since it is located at approximately 128 nautical miles away from Palawan. Meanwhile, US, Japan, Australia and the Philippines Defense Forces confirm of holding a one-day maritime cooperative activity in Manila's exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea on April 7th. And the exercises involve communication activities and officer of the watch maneuvers in the region and aims to support a free and open Indo-Pacific. The activity will strengthen the interoperability of the country's armed forces, doctrines, tactics, techniques and procedures. The maritime activity is being carried out to reaffirm the position of the four nations, stating that the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Tribunal Award is final and legally binding. The drill is being conducted days before a summit to be held between the leaders of these nations. Update now on the Taiwan earthquake. Evacuees in Hualien County say that they are scared to go home after a deadly 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck Taiwan, collapsing buildings and rendering many residences unsafe to live in, with aftershocks continuing to rattle the island's eastern region. The Hualien County government said on Saturday that 201 buildings were damaged by the tremor and 150 people were having to stay at shelters. Earlier, 2 bodies were found on Friday in the mountains of Hualien County, putting the number of missing at 13. 3 of them were foreigners of Australian and Canadian nationality. US President Joe Biden has vowed to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the city of Baltimore after it collapsed last week. During a visit to Baltimore on Friday, President Biden observed the crash site, spoke with local officials and also met the families of the deceased.
We're going to keep working hard to recover each of them. And you know, my vow is that we will not rest, as Carlos said, until the cement has dried on the entirety of a new bridge. A new bridge. So I've directed the Coast Guard, the Navy, and the Army Corps of Engineers, who are, by the way, the finest engineers in the world, and the state officials to work together to help remove this steel as quickly as possible and as safely as possible.
A cargo boat lost power and hit the structure, bringing it down and killing 6 construction workers on 26th of March. The unnamed 21-man crew, all but one of them, whom are Indian citizens, survived. They remain stranded on the ship. And DD India's Benji Hire gets us more from nearby Washington, D.C.
Touring the wreckage, President Joe Biden says he's ordered his administration to move heaven and earth to rebuild the major crossing, paying homage to those who died. That rebuilding effort, though, cannot happen until the debris is cleared, a process that may take many, many weeks. The vessel is still lodged in the tangled metal, its crew still on board, and it's blocking a vital shipping route in and out of the port, one of the busiest in America. Now, the US Army's plan is to fully reopen the port of Baltimore by the end of May. The Department of Transportation's already released $60 million in emergency aid in the immediate wake of the disaster. That's what the White House refers to as a down payment for initial costs. A full restoration, though, will require much, much more. But here, already in the capital, there's a war of words underway. In a letter to Congress, the administration says that the federal government should pay for reconstructing the bridge. Yet the House Freedom Caucus, that's a group of hardline Republican lawmakers, they say they won't support that funding unless Joe Biden agrees to a number of concessions that they've laid out. The House of Representatives and the Senate both reconvene next week. Back in Baltimore, the president used his short address to put pressure on Congress. That's a message that he hopes will be heard 70 kilometers south in the capital. Benji Hire in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Moving on, a caravan of more than 2,000 weary migrants trekked access to southern Mexican state of Chiapas with an aim to reach the United States, where they plan to take a rest there for the next few days. The migrants walked 30 kilometers along a coastal highway amid scorching heat and received water from government officials. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Latest from India's election summer, Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding rallies in Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. 3 Naxalites have been killed in an encounter with security forces in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh. And in India's Odisha, the state is bracing for intense heat wave.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Cairo to host Gaza ceasefire talks this weekend. US President urges Egypt and Qatar to press Hamas on hostage deal. Russia launches drone strike on Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv. Ukraine attacks on Russia's Morzovsk military airbase in Rostov region. Philippines flags unlawful activity by China in South China Sea. Chinese Coast Guard vessels harass Filipino fishermen within Manila's exclusive economic zone. Let's now get you the latest from the world's largest democratic elections in India. With the general elections in India just a few days away, all parties have intensified poll campaign. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a rally in Saharanpur city of the northern state of Uttar Pradesh on Saturday. Addressing the election rally, Prime Minister Modi stated that serving the nation is of prime importance for his party. And Prime Minister Modi also conducted a rally in the northern Indian state of Rajasthan on Saturday. During his address to the voters in the city of Ajmer, Prime Minister stated that Rajasthan is moving ahead towards greater heights of development under the BJP rule. He aims to make India developed by 2047.
ये कितना भी बोलते रहे, भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ मोदी की लड़ाई जारी रहेगी। मुझे बताइए, मुझे लड़ाई जारी रखनी चाहिए कि नहीं? इस देश से भ्रष्टाचार जाना चाहिए कि नहीं? भ्रष्टाचार खत्म होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए? आपके आशीर्वाद है ना? आपके आशीर्वाद है ना? आपके आशीर्वाद है तो मैं लड़ता रहूंगा। और भाइयों बहनों, मेरी सरकार का तीसरा कार्यकाल बहुत दूर नहीं है। पहले 100 दिन में भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ बीजेपी सरकार और भी बड़े फैसले लेने जा रही है। मैं तैयारी करके बैठा हूं, सारी तैयारी शुरू कर दी है। और इसलिए मैं कहता हूं, 10 साल में जो कार्रवाई देखी वो तो ट्रेलर है, अभी तो बहुत कुछ होना बाकी है।
And DD India correspondent Vishal Beresto joins us from Ground Zero, Pushkar, Rajasthan. Vishal, we were listening to Prime Minister's poll rally. Take us through the highlights, and how is the opposition also countering Prime Minister's attack?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Shubhendu. Yes, the rally just got over. I'm here outside the Miller ground in Pushkar. And Prime Minister made a scathing attack first on the election promises made by the Congress party on their manifesto, and he said that every page of the Congress manifesto reflects the philosophy of Muslim League during the time of partition. Congress is hell-bent to divide this country, and Congress is only for corruption. They are holding rallies to protect the corrupt people, but my fight against corruption would continue. And let me tell you that whatever you have seen till now is only a trailer, because I am ready for the third term, and in the third term, more stringent action would be taken against corruption. Here in Ajmer, BJP is very confident, because in the last elections, BJP candidate Bhagirath Chaudhary won the election last time, and Ajmer has always been the stronghold of the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is also celebrating its foundation day. And Pushkar is known for its only Brahma temple across the world. It's a very famous pilgrim site for the Hindus, and Pushkar is also known for devotees across the world visiting this place. So tourism has a tremendous opportunities here. Our Prime Minister said that under the BJP government in Rajasthan is making a lot of progress, and more is all set to come as far as Rajasthan is concerned. So Prime Minister held 2 consecutive rallies. Yesterday he was in Churu, today he was in Ajmer. In Ajmer he was eyeing 2 Lok Sabha constituencies. One is Ajmer and other was Nagaur, which unfortunately for the BJP, despite all their preparations, did not come in their way, and the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party won the Nagaur seat last time. So it was 24-1 last time, but this time BJP is eyeing all 25 seats of Rajasthan.
Right, Vishal, also since you're in Rajasthan, can you give us a macro view of the contest in the state? It is primarily going to be a BJP versus Congress in the general elections.
Well, absolutely. It has always been BJP working versus Congress in Rajasthan, though there are some local factors as well, like I quoted Rashtriya Loktantrik Party, which is very active in the Nagaur region in Marwar. Then you have the tribal parties in the Baswara region bordering Gujarat. But barring these two regions, it has always been between Congress and BJP in Rajasthan. Even in the assembly elections, it has always been once it is BJP, then it Congress. Last time it was the Congress party, but today we have BJP government in the helm of affairs, with Bhajan Lal being the chief minister, with two deputies. One is Diya Kumari, the former princess of Jaipur, and also Mr. Berwa, who is also the deputy chief minister of Rajasthan.
Vishal, thank you for those updates. India's largest political party, the BJP, is celebrating its 45th Foundation Day on Saturday. The party was founded on 6th April 1980, has emerged as one of the largest political parties in the world. BJP party chief JP Nadda hoisted the party flag at its headquarters in New Delhi. He congratulated partymen for achievements of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He said BJP is the only party which, since the days of Janasangh, has been continuously moving ahead with its ideological foundation of nationalism. Prime Minister and senior leader of the BJP, Narendra Modi, and Home Minister Amit Shah also extended their greetings on Foundation Day to BJP party workers. Congress has released a list of 6 candidates for parliamentary constituencies of North and South Goa, Morena, Khandwa and Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, and Dadar and Nagar Haveli. Sitting Congress MP from Goa, Francisco Sardina, has been dropped from the list of candidates for Lok Sabha elections. Meanwhile, electioneering is gaining momentum for Tripura West parliamentary constituency, which goes to poll in the first phase on April 19th. Leaders from various political parties are crisscrossing the state in their election campaign. There are 9 candidates in the fray, including former Chief Minister and BJP candidate Biplab Kumar Deb and Congress's Ashish Kumar Saha. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Presidential elections kicked off in Slovakia, with voters reaching the polling stations to cast their vote, choosing between pro-Western opposition candidate Ivan Korkok and Peter Pellegrini, running for the ruling nationalist left coalition. Election expected to be tight according to final opinion polls. "152 people have been rescued from floodwaters in Australia's eastern state of New South Wales after torrential rain sparked warnings for residents to move to higher ground. Authorities on Saturday morning said that 12 emergency evacuation orders were in place, including several in Sydney, where there was dangerous and rising flooding in some areas. Some major roads in Sydney and the Elvara have also been closed due to flooding. Winter storm conditions in California have yet again forced the closure of the state's iconic Highway 1 near Big Sur after part of the world-famous road that runs along the Pacific collapsed into the ocean. The highway, about 150 miles south San Francisco, was closed on Wednesday ahead of bad weather that moved in on Thursday. The first weekend of April promises summer weather in Germany, with temperatures reaching 30 degrees Celsius in some parts of the country. After some rainy weeks, locals in Munich seem to be enjoying the good weather already on Friday, making plans for the rest of the sunny weekend. Such summer-like weather at the start of spring is one of the distinctive signs of climate change caused by extreme events such as tornadoes or flash floods. A day after rising waters in the Ural River flooded riverside villages and caused a dam to burst on Friday, Russia's emergency services have evacuated more than 700 people. Residents wearing life jackets were being pulled into lifeboats as thousands of homes have been submerged in waters. A 111-year-old man from England is now the world's oldest living man, as confirmed by the Guinness Book of World Records on Friday. The world's oldest living man said his longevity is just luck and there was no special secret to his diet. His favorite food was fish and chips every Friday. One of Japan's celebrated traditional gardens in the Kanazawa city of Ishikawa Prefecture is now open for free and cherry blossom viewing. The garden is symbolized as the scenic beauty of Japan. It It opens for free in the cherry blossoming season every year. Visitors enjoyed strolling around the garden where cherry blossoms are in bloom but still not flowering fully. Let's also turn to other stories making news today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has reiterated country's commitment to its policies of neighbourhood first and Sagar, acknowledging Maldives Minister of Foreign Affairs post on thanking India for allowing export of essential commodities to the island nation. Dr. Jaishankar says, and I quote, India stands firmly committed to its neighbourhood first and Sagar policies. Maldives Foreign Minister Musa Zamir thanked India on Saturday for allowing the export of essential goods to the island nation despite the downturn in relations amid rising Chinese influence in Malay. In a post on social media platform X, Maldivian minister writes, I sincerely thank External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and the Government of India for renewal of the quota to enable Maldives to import essential commodities from India during the 2024-2025 years. He added that it signifies the long-standing friendship between the two nations. India has allowed for export of certain quantities of essential commodities for 2024-25 under a unique bilateral mechanism at the request of Maldives government. The High Commission of India in Maldives posted on X stating that the quotas for each of these items have been revised upwards. India has approved the highest quantities of essential commodities for export to Maldives since the arrangement began in 1981. The Indian Coast Guard on Friday evacuated a Sri Lankan fisherman who had developed a life-threatening heart condition after his boat drifted to Indian waters due to engine failure. The ICG immediately launched its ship Rani Baka towards the boat and he was evacuated within a few hours. The patient was given basic medical treatment on the ship. An advanced light helicopter was launched by ICG, the squadron based in Chennai. And a Delhi court has extended Aam Aadmi Party leader Manish Sisodia's judicial custody till April 18th. Sisodia, the former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, is currently held in Tihar jail in relation to the Delhi liquor case. He appeared in Delhi's Rouse Avenue court today after he reiterated his claim from April 2nd that the investigative agencies have not provided evidence linking him to any money in the case. In Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district, 3 Naxalites have been killed in an encounter with security forces. The encounter took place in the Karigota forest of Pujari Kaker along the Chhattisgarh-Telangana border on Saturday. It was carried out by a joint operation between Telangana's Greyhounds forces and Chhattisgarh police. Security forces have recovered weapons including a light machine gun and an AK-47 from the spot. India's eastern state of Odisha is bracing for intense heat wave. Odisha's capital Bhubaneswar recorded a sweltering 43.5 degrees Celsius temperatures on Friday. The Galo tribal community of India's northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh celebrated the Mopen festival on Friday. The festival marks the onset of the harvest season. The members of the tribe donned white traditional attire and danced to religious hymns. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Perennial rivals Manchester United and Liverpool are set to collide once again in Premier League on Sunday. In IPL, Rajasthan Royals to host Royal Challengers Bengaluru in Jaipur today.
Why is everybody ready to quit the Congress party, and most particularly those who are associated with its media department?
When we felt that the Congress party did not stand up on issues that were important for this nation.
A spokesperson cannot defend what is indefensible. They do that very heavy cost of their own conscience, and that is when they feel suffocated.
This is now an election between Congress Rahul Gandhi and Congress Narendra Modi. So it's Congress versus Congress in 2024.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Time for all the action from the world of sports. Let's first talk about football. 3 weeks have elapsed since their captivating clash in the FA Cup quarter-finals, and now the perennial rivals Manchester United and Liverpool collide once more. This Sunday, they meet at the iconic Old Trafford Stadium for another showdown in the Premier League. The two fierce rivals are set to face off for the third time this season. The high-voltage encounter is another significant one for the respective campaigns. Liverpool leads the Premier League charts, closely followed by Arsenal and Manchester City. The Reds have already won the EFL Cup, will be looking to win the Premier League and the UEFA Europa League as well. Meanwhile, Manchester United are 6th in the table, 11 points behind 4th placed Aston Villa. And DD India correspondent Narayan joins us live from the newsroom. Narayan, considering the current form, seems Liverpool do have an upper hand in the contest.
Shubhendu, if we take a look, this contest, it is the most awaited contest of this season. To most, we can say, successful team of the English Premier League. Manchester United, 20 titles under their belt, and Liverpool, 19 titles under their belt. And the two old foes are meeting at Old Trafford. So it is going to be a fascinating contest, considering the fact that the coach of the Manchester United, Eric Ten Hag, we can say this is under pressure for the different reasons, because reports are surfacing that at the end of the season he may be replaced by the England coach Gary Southgate, and also the fact that Manchester United is sitting at the 6th place in the EPL charts right now. And if we take a look, only top 4 teams will go for the UEFA Champions League. In that sense also, it is very difficult for him, because if he wants to be there, this match is very important for the Manchester United, because if they lose today, this match, this crucial match, they will be pushed down and it will be difficult for them. If you take a look the Liverpool's perspective, because only 8 matches are left this season and they have won, we can say that they are at the top with 70 points and they are leading the charts in the Premier League, and there is only difference of 2 points between the table toppers Liverpool and the 2nd place Arsenal, and the difference of 3 points between Liverpool and the 3rd place Man City. So it's going to be a 3-way battle this time in English Premier League, and from here every match is important. And at the end of the season, Liverpool coach Jurgen Klopp will leave the club, and the team can give a perfect tribute to, we can say that, their coach if they want to win this title this season. All in all, a fantastic match, but we are hoping that we will see a wonderful game of football, because last time in the last month we saw that Manchester United won we can say the most fascinating match of this season by a score line of 4-3 against Liverpool. So revenge will be the word in the mind of Liverpool when they will visit Old Trafford.
So all in all, a campaign defining match for both the teams, Narayan.
Definitely, if we take a look the way we described that it's a three-way battle in the English Premier League between Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, and in 2021 and 22 season Liverpool missed the EPL title by just a 1 point to Man City. So from here they can't think of losing a single match, even go for a draw, because if they loses 3 points they will lost, and if any match ends in a draw, the points will be shared by the two teams. Each team will get a single point, and there is a little difference between the top three in that sense. From here every match is important for both the teams, especially for the Liverpool if they want to win the title. And if you talk about Man United, already we know that the legacy of the Manchester United, they are the most successful team in the Premier League, and if they want to play UEFA Champions League, the holy grail of the Europe, they have to be, we can say that they bring their A game here so that they can be in the top 4, in the top flight of the Premier League.
There, Narayan, thank you for joining us with those updates. Indian shuttler Anupama Upadhyay bagged the Kazakhstan International Challenge women's singles title in Urals on Saturday. Anupama trounced the fellow Indian player Ishrani Baroin straight games 21-15, 21-16 to win the title. Anupama, who won the National Games gold last year, displayed her tremendous control over the net against Ishrani as she fetched winners at ease with the net dribble. 19-year-old swift coverage of the court paid dividends as Ishrani struggled to breach the shuttler's sturdy defence. This was Anupama's second successive title this year. In March, she won the Polish Open in Warsaw. In men's singles, Indian shuttler M. Tarun also brought glory to the country. He defeated Malaysian Sung Ju Wen 21-10, 21-19 in the finals. In cricket, in IPL, Rajasthan Royals are set to host Royal Challengers Bengaluru in Jaipur today. Bengaluru have won just 1 out of their 4 matches. RCB are currently at the 8th position on the 10-team table. It is fair indication of their troubles. Meanwhile, Rajasthan have won all their matches they've played so far. They beat Mumbai Indians by 6 wickets while changing a 126-run target in their last game, and are currently placed at the 2nd position in the points table. In hockey, Tom Wickham scored a brace as Australia routed India 5-1 in the first hockey match in Perth ahead of Paris Olympics. The hosts dominated the proceedings throughout the game as they scored a goal in every quarter. Tim Brand opened the scoring early in the first half before Tom Wickham extended the lead. Joel Rantala and Wickham scored to put the result beyond doubt, though Gurjant Singh netted lone goal for the visitors after a lightning-quick counter-attack before Australia extended the lead through Flynn Ogilvie to make the scoreline 5-1. The 5-match series is crucial for India ahead of the Paris Olympics. A total solar eclipse is set to occur on 8th April. The moon will block out the sun for millions of people in Mexico, United States and Canada. So many changes will occur during the solar eclipse. This will be a total solar eclipse and would be a memorable event as it is going to occur after 54 years. And people are flocking a flower park in the city of Shiba Prefecture, east of Tokyo, feasting their eyes on tens and thousands of tulips in full bloom. The annual tulip festival is underway. Locals have planted around 60,000 tulips on a site spanning roughly 2,100 square meters. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.